Good to go.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Allen. I'm Chair of the Energy Committee. As Chair of the Energy Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the Governor as a result of the COVID pandemic and in accordance with the Governor's Emergency Order Number 12, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. On January 8th, public notice of this meeting was posted on the town website and on the bulletin board of the town offices at 10 Front Street. As provided in that public notice, the public may access the meeting online and via phone. Please note all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote, alphabetically by first name. Let's start the meeting now by taking roll call attendance. When each member states they're present, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting and who that person is, which is required under the right to know law. So let's see. Cliff?
Cliff Sennett, present, no one in the room with me.
Lou?
Lou Hitzroth, no one in the room with me.
Robin?
Robin Tyner, no one's in the room with me. There's some people, my boys are outside. They might come walking through at some point.
Okay, thank you. And Dave, the town planner, is with us.
Dave Sharples, town planner. I'm not on the committee, but provide staff support, and I am in the room.
Okay, I believe you said he was in the room. He was breaking up with me. Okay, and then we have our guest here, Camille Weber.
Camille Weber, and I'm allowed in the room.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me switch to the agenda here, and I'm going to do a screen share and show the people at home our visual agenda, what we're going to be talking about today. Here we go. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
So we are talking, first we're interviewing or just having a chat with Camille, who is at the Exeter High School. She's interested in being a liaison on our committee. We're going to talk about solar projects. That's very exciting. Dave, the sustainability officer, is here to give us updates on other sustainability measures as well. We're going to talk about community power aggregation, a project that Lou and Cliff are leading. I think we're going to skip the efficiencies because Julie's not here today. And then we'll talk about our heat pumps seminars that we had on Zoom. Okay, but the first order of business is to approve the minutes. So we have two minutes. We have the December 16th minutes from our regular meeting, and then we had a special meeting on January 7th to get our presentation together for the Select Board on solar. Are there any comments on the minutes?
Look good.
Okay. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
This is both of them, second?
Yeah, two. Okay. And so we'll take the vote. We're going to approve the minutes. Cliff?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Robin?
Yes. Unmute.
Yes.
Give the thumbs up. Okay, good. Put that out of the way. All right, here comes the fun part. Okay, Camille, welcome. I'll give you a little introduction on Camille. She's currently at Exeter High School, and before that, obviously, she was at the middle school. And when she was at the middle school, she initiated a project to look into solar for the school. She lived in Exeter for all her life, and she recently just moved across the border to Brentwood, but she is a student at Exeter High School. So she has contacted me actually twice. She contacted me before COVID to come into the meeting, but then we didn't have meetings for a couple months and things were in a bit of disarray. So I do apologize for that, Camille. That she contacted me again, and here we're more organized. So she has a statement she'd like to read to us, and then we're going to ask her some questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Camille Weber, and I'm a 9th grader at Exeter High School. For an 8th grade project, I had to come up with something that I wanted to learn more about, and I chose solar energy at schools. When I started the project, it was for a grade, but it has now become a lot more than that. I've been working with the Facilities School Board, Amy Farnham, and my 8th grade social studies teacher on trying to get more solar installed at the high school. We are hoping to install the panels on the roof, but we also looked at some other spots during a site walk this summer. This project has helped me realize how interested I am in renewable energy and climate change. I believe the next step in cultivating my passion is to join your committee. Together, I hope we can make the Exeter community more environmentally conscious. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and questions about my interest in joining your committee.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Camille?
Yeah, Camille, I have a question. Is there a school newspaper at the high school? And would it be possible for you to put information in the school newspaper about your interest in solar projects and perhaps what's going on in the town in terms of renewable energy projects?
I don't believe we have a school newspaper. I think we might have something else, but I don't think we have a newspaper. I know we have our website, but I don't think we have a newspaper.
No newspaper.
Good too. Yeah.
Could you say that again, Robin? I missed it.
I'm sorry. Maybe the website might be good too. It depends how it's set up. If it's just for you to pull information down, that's different. But if it's, putting out things to the school community, that might be useful. But I would just say thanks for working on your project. Or I'm glad you're interested. I think we went through this on a sustainability committee where I think if you're under 18, you're not legally allowed to be a member, but there's all sorts of associate members or honorary members, or there's ways you can still be involved. Absolutely, and it's helpful to us.
Definitely.
Camille, I think one way that what we could create some synergy is kind of what Lou was talking about. If there was a way that you could become kind of like a not only a active pseudo member of the committee, but also to liaise with the high school as far as if there were some kind of blog or some kind of way you could get the energy committee information into the school. Or maybe take some polls of the students and find out, just some kind of go between, because we'd really like to have youth voices heard on our committee. So if there's a way that you could do that, that would be wonderful. Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I could do off the top of my head. I don't know, but I can look into that definitely. Yeah.
I wonder if there's an environmental club at the high school, or some club that maybe through the science department or the biology department deals with environmental issues and renewable energy and so forth.
I don't think there's one right now, but I have talked with some people about trying to start one. I talked with my social studies teacher about maybe doing that. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that would be great. I know that because of COVID, schools are very strange at the moment. So hopefully by later this year or the fall, things will smooth out a little bit. But it would be wonderful. I'd like to suggest that since Camille is underage and she doesn't actually reside in the town, but in light of the fact that she's a high school student, that we kind of nominate her as a student liaison, a junior member of some sort. I can find out the exact title that we can use. And, not only for Camille, but in the future, after Camille's graduated and working in Washington on clean energy initiatives, that we kind of can always have this spot that we can have a high school voices on our committee, either working on our projects. Like I could see Camille or any other high school student volunteering during National Drive Electric Week when we're out in front of the town hall promoting electric vehicles. And then also like right now when we're in the midst of this big solar project with Dave, I think it would be great for a student or her to listen and learn how these things actually get done, what the nuances are. Okay.
I think it's great to have a liaison with a high school. I think it's terrific.
Okay. So we can move this to the next meeting for I'll try to get some official wording, and then we can, figure out at the next meeting how we can officially attach her to our committee in some way. All right. Any other further questions for Camille? Or Camille, do you have any questions for us?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I will definitely email you if I come up with any.
Okay. All right, and I know that Camille has watched like the last 6 hours of Energy Committee videos, so she's up to speed on who we are and what we're doing. So I think she can jump right in. Okay.
I was just going to note, because I did some when I was at Exeter High School. There is the Talon. It's the high school's newspaper. So definitely look into that as an option.
Okay, I will look into that then.
Okay. All right. Well, and thank you, Camille. You don't have to stay and listen to the rest, or if you want to, it's up to you.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move on here to the solar project. So we were just speaking with the select board the other night, and I'm going to let Dave and Lou talk about this.
Dave, you want to go ahead? You can start. You know more than I do.
About what happened at the select board meeting?
Well, we know what happened. I think what we're working on is like the next steps. Where are we going from here? Do you have a feel for which way the select board's going to go? You know?
Oh, that I don't know. That I can't. What I can tell you is my feeling was it seemed positive. They seemed, interested in the project. I haven't heard any more than anyone else heard that night. They did ask for 2, and am I coming through okay first? Sorry.
Yeah.
I am? Okay. Because this is the first time I've got a town-issued Chromebook that I'm using. So I haven't used this Chromebook before. But anyway, they asked me Russ said they wanted 2 warrant articles, one for the lease option and one for the direct ownership option. I drafted those and sent him those today for, kind of comment and review. He did have one question that I asked legal counsel about, and I haven't heard back from them. But that's the next step. Is my assumption is going back to the board on the 18th with the warrant articles, and then they have basically 3 options. One is no action, the no action alternative. Second is to put it on the warrant article, but then within that decision is either do it as a lease or as a direct ownership.
Okay, and so with that, 2 questions. Would you like the Energy Committee to be at the board meeting on the 18th?
Yeah, I think that would be, the more input or the people available to answer any questions or provide support, I think is the better, more advantageous it would be to come to, to help them decide.
Okay, I did have a couple of very interested people that would want to speak in favor of it last time, but since the discussion before us took so long, we kind of lost those people. They had other things they needed to do or something, so they may be able to come back on. One of them actually was Betsy Stevens, who has applied to be on our committee to replace Brianna Brand, who moved out of town. So you'll see her volunteer application coming in. She's a biology teacher at Phillips Exeter. And she has been a sustainability coordinator for them previously to Jason Bray Miller, who is the coordinator now. So that's exciting. And the other question is, Dave, when you drafted the language, did you include the words "no tax impact"?
The tax impact I didn't put on there. I leave that to, Russ and the other, finance department to determine and write that language. I just wrote the main article. I think he will add when and if there's a vote, like recommended by the select board 5-0, 3, whatever that vote is, and the tax impact that gets added. I didn't do that.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I know myself when I go to vote, I look at those types of things, whether it's been recommended and what the tax impact. If there's no tax impact, then it's kind of almost a no-brainer. So.
Well, we are going to have to discuss that, I think, at least internally with Russ, because based on the numbers, say if the proposal pans out and the estimates are accurate by Revision Energy, it doesn't have no tax impact. It actually has a positive tax.
Yeah.
So it will fund the general fund and could offset taxes. So I made that point to Russ. I said, we'll figure it out and look at it, because I thought that was a good point, because it's a positive cash flow to the town.
Right.
Hey, Dave. Renee and I just got off a long phone conversation with Bill Baber from Dover, and I think they're investigating a similar kind of solar array. He was asking how we or how Revision is so confident that a larger than 1 megawatt installation can be approved. I didn't really have an answer for him. So what makes Revision so confident that 1.77 megawatts is going to be able to be done?
Just based on the legislative history, I'm not saying it's going to be, and we'd have to look at the 1 megawatt too is profitable in the cash flow projections.
Yeah.
But we'd probably hold off. But the way the legislation, to be real brief, this is a little complicated, but just to try to be brief, is that some folks in the legislature wanted kind of the whole ball of wax, a lot of demands to allow, a lot of solar, like just unfettered, if you will. That's not fair, but just a lot more. There were different sides, and then the Republicans offered a compromise to kind of narrow it down. The Democrats didn't want that. They kind of wanted all of it, so that never even passed. And then they put forward a bill with kind of everything they wanted, and it got vetoed by the governor.
Right.
There's at least some school of thought out there that they're willing to back off on their demands, at least in the short term, and possibly take that. And that's what my understanding is what the Republicans offered would allow this last year. But then the Democrats thought it didn't go far enough, whether it does or doesn't. But so I guess they're very optimistic based on that. I'm really simplifying this, but based on that a legislation will pass to allow municipalities to build this system that would fit. I don't know what the megawatts, maybe it's up to 2 or something, but right. 1.75 would be allowed, and they expect that legislation to happen. What I am ready and prepared to do, if it gets to vote, I'm waiting till the vote happens in Exeter. First, does the select board want to send it to the warrant? And then if they do the people want it? And then if the voters want it, then I'd be pretty aggressive in doing some lobbying to the state legislature to make sure, to try to make sure that gets voted in and the project's eligible. And I think if we had a vote of a project like that was voted by the residents of Exeter, that would, hopefully carry some weight when lobbying our elected officials at the state.
Can I just interject for 1 minute? Because Amy has joined the meeting, so I think she needs to say she's here and who's in the room.
Amy Farnham, alone in the room.
Okay. Go ahead, Robin.
So I think that was my understanding last year, because I worked a little with Brianna on when all that legislation went through and there was a veto, and there was just a whole lot of stuff. But I worked together with Clean Energy New Hampshire on an op-ed that didn't go as far as we wanted to, and also communicating with some of the Republican legislators. And I think, there was definitely an appetite. There was definitely a number of them that came from communities that wanted solar, and they were for it. And then it became this horrible political battle. But it seems to me that it's fairly likely that their compromise, as I understood it, would have allowed this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you concur. That's what I heard too.
Just do we know if a bill has been introduced that would raise the cap for this session? Because that would be necessary, right? It'd have to be legislation.
Right.
Correct. I will know by the next meeting. I'm on a legislative session. Is it tomorrow? Friday. And because I haven't dove into all the bills that are getting introduced or have been. So I should know by the end of the week.
Okay.
And if Julie makes it into this meeting, she had a meeting that was moved up suddenly. She may know something if she makes it to the end of this meeting.
I miss Brianna.
Yeah.
One other question, Renee. I wasn't at the meeting when you presented the proposal, but I read the minutes, and it seemed like the majority of the selectmen seemed to be leaning toward the lease option. I wonder how solid that preference was. It's kind of too bad.
I think
changed.
I think the meeting minutes you must have read were the original meeting where we had a kind of a short and detailed explanation that didn't really dive into the tax impacts and things like that. This second presentation that we just gave the other night, they weren't leaning one way or another. They were just taking the information in, and I think they saw the benefits of the ownership. It wasn't really stressed on the first.
Okay.
And to be fair, the select board meetings have been like so jam packed, and the packets are humongous. And for them to look through 25 pages of the revision proposal, they were, so. Yeah, so I think the third time we bring it back to them, they're going to be fully on board with reading the whole proposal and understanding the benefits.
Great.
I missed that. When is the third time? Tuesday?
18th.
Okay.
That's next Monday, right?
I think so.
All right. Well, sorry I missed the last meeting, and I will be at least late to this next one because that Energy Fellowship Atlantic Council thing meets at 6. It's scheduled 6 to 7:15. So sometimes it goes a little late, but I mean, they might not have gotten to you yet by then anyway. So
I doubt it. They didn't get to us till 9:30.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah, it was.
I actually could have jumped in by 9:30. All right. Sorry.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else on this revision presentation? Okay, then Dave, can I ask you about the buyout from Sun Revolution? Do we want to move that to a different meeting, or do we have information on that at the moment?
I can give you a brief update of where it's at. Rusty, the town manager, asked me, among others, to take a look at it, and I looked at it. I don't know if I told you this, if I'm repeating myself. So.
Oh, you went on mute.
We just lost you.
I think you hit it with your hand or something.
All right. Okay, I moved my hand. I must have muted myself. Anyway, the town manager asked me my input on this, and I took a look at the contract and the situation, but quickly realized that I think we needed someone to assess the solar array, what it's generating, and so forth. Get an assessment on the equipment, and provide us with some information, recommendations on what path we should do, and maybe the pros and cons of buyout or waiting, and so forth. So he was fine with that. I contracted with Revision Energy, actually, and they went out to the site, yesterday morning. They had been on site. They went on the site. They're doing an analysis. I should get an assessment report and document, within a week or so, and I will know more at that point. But we felt it best to get some, a professional opinion, because no one in-house, in the town of Exeter knows, the ins and outs of the solar panel and so forth. So we thought it best to, seek consultant guidance on that, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. No, that is news to us, and I'm glad that you consulted professionals for an analysis. Thank you. All right, and while you're still up there, Dave, do you have any other sustainability officer updates for us on greenhouse gases, or any goals or
Yeah, mostly it's been a lot of this solar array lately. Every week going to the select board, that's been taken. But I just want to mention, I mean, I'm sure you all folks know because you supported it, but just for those that are watching and so forth, that the greenhouse gas emissions resolution we brought it to the Sustainability Advisory Committee after you folks supported it, and they supported it as well. So I will be bringing that forward to the select board at some point. I don't know, it's probably not going to be this month with what's going on, but I will, as soon as time allows, I will bring it forward to them for consideration. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'd like to mention that I was also contacted by a woman out of Concord who has recently moved to town. Her name is Kelsey Sullivan, and she drafted the Concord energy goals, the town of Concord, the city of Concord energy goals recently. I believe she's a lawyer, and she was interested in our committee or maybe the sustainability committee. So coming up, you may be hearing from Kelsey Sullivan. And I think that would be interesting to hear from a larger city what they're doing with their climate goals. Okay, so check that off. Next item on the agenda is the community power aggregation. Lou and Cliff are here to update us on the current status.
I sent around, I hope you had a chance to read the draft of the proposal for a mission statement for a community power aggregation committee. Cliff did a good job of editing my initial attempt. I think what we need to do is to decide whether that is an appropriate mission statement. And then, Dave, I hope you can maybe help us. Is the next step, if we approve as a committee that this is an appropriate statement, is the next step just to bring it to the select board and ask them to review the mission statement and then approve the formation of a committee? Is that how it goes?
That sounds right. I'd have to, I'd have to run that by the town manager of how, I attend select board meetings when I have an item on it. So that my understanding is they have the authority to create, committees, commissions and so forth. So it will eventually end up there. And that sounds about right. If we recommend it, then it would move to them for consideration. But I'll just double check on the process, and then a matter of when would you like, are you thinking it, when would that be? When would you want to pursue it?
I would guess as soon as possible, but what do you think, Cliff?
I think so. Just to back on that point, it is specifically stated in the RSA that is the governing body that creates that committee. So, if they're willing, they're the ones that have the authority to do it. And as far as timing goes, I think from what we learned from at our last meeting, it seems like there's no reason really to wait until we're sure of everything to start working on it. We can start developing the plan. Doesn't have to be quite as specific as I was thinking, at least based on what was the town's name?
Harrisville.
Harrisville's plan is not all that detailed in terms of getting into the nitty gritty of how everything would work. So I think even without the PUC's final rule, they went ahead and drafted their plan. So and I think we can too.
For the community solar?
I'm sorry?
For the plan for community solar?
Community power.
Community power aggregation, yeah.
Okay. So if we have these different committees, I don't know how many of you remember from a year and a half, 2 years ago, when we did the sustainability brief and we looked at pretty much everyone in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and part of Massachusetts and how they were running things like this. there was a nice model up in Hanover where they actually had a sustainability officer that was part-time, staff person, and then they had a structure of multiple committees. So they had an energy committee and theirs was community solar, but community power, and I think there's someone working recycling and trash and waste, and then they had 5 of them, whatever they were. And as we add to committees, I'm just wondering, Dave, if you've given any thought to some sort of structure, so that, the idea, what they were doing, what we had proposed in our proposal was that the sustainability officer was kind of overseeing them all, and that puts a lot on you for what became a part-time add-on little job. And so I don't know how that, because then we have 3 committees.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Robin, this committee is required by law just specifically for community aggregation discovery, and I think once the discovery is over, the committee is gone. It's just a discovery.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a temporary thing. So it wouldn't really be anything that, Dave could be on it if you want, whatever, but it's not, I don't think it's really going to come under him that much. But Lou, do you have, or could you share your screen if you have?
I'll attempt to share my screen.
All right, let's take a look at the language of this. And I think he got this from a template from another person or whatever. So we can take a look at something.
Okay.
And
how do I invite all?
You just share your screen, the green button.
Yeah.
And then you click on the picture of the one you want. And I think we were thinking about seven people for this committee. Cliff, is that a 7-person committee or 5, or what are you guys thinking?
I don't remember talking about that.
No.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to invite everybody here. Let me see.
You didn't. That's not a thing.
Okay.
On screen share.
Well, I went to screen share. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Share. All right. Did that come up?
Yep. Oh,
Okay,
something's coming up.
Yeah. It's on mine.
Is it on anybody else's?
No, there we go.
Yeah. Little lag, little delay. Okay, here we go. We see it.
Okay, good. Nope, I just lost it.
I've got it.
We still have it.
Well, anyway, I have a hard copy here, so if you can take a quick look at it and see if it sounds like we're good with it.
Thank you.
So you probably have to scroll up on your screen, right? So we can all read the rest.
I don't have it on my screen for some reason. I'm actually.
Maybe press the escape button.
Here we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah. What's going on here?
You sent it to us on email, right? Maybe I can find it.
Yeah. This is what happened in the meeting before. I just lost the whole meeting. Are you hearing me?
If you hold down like the Alt Tab button, you can tab through all the open stuff that you have and get back to the Word document.
Well, I'm back to the Word document on share.
I have it on my screen.
Yeah, can you scroll?
No, you'd have to scroll, Lou.
Yeah, I know, and I don't have anywhere to scroll here. Okay. Let's see. How's this? You got it? I got it on my screen.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a lag.
Yeah.
All right. So let me, okay. Here we are up to the top. Oh, God, just lost it again. What the hell? Something keeps happening on my screen.
I did have it on my screen. It seemed a little different than your screen, though. Do you want me to do a screen share from here?
Yeah, why don't you do it from there and see what happens?
Okay.
But I've lost the, I'm back at the meeting finally.
Okay, good. Let me pull it up here. And share. Okay. So this seems a little bit different because it has red on it. That's the one that I have.
Yeah, those are Cliff's edits.
Okay, but we can go with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can talk about the first paragraph in the first chunk of bullets. Does anybody have any comment on that?
I think my only comment is just from reading through, and even the other bit we saw briefly was, with this being a temporary committee to decide if we want to go this route, if we do go this route, then who is the person that's going to manage this?
There would be a provider.
And that would all be part of the plan.
Is a third-party provider?
Yes.
One person? Okay.
But were you asking, Robin, who is going to manage the committee or the?
No, this program, like provide electricity at lower cost to.
Yeah, that's all part of the.
Yeah,
that's all part of the community power aggregation, implementation. But
right.
what this committee is doing is doing the research and then creating a plan for the town to move forward.
So I understand that, but like you said, once you get to implementation, that's when who's implementing, because there's all kinds of things about how that's done, and then some of those things might not be constants forever and ever. So that's why I just wonder who in town then owns it, even if it's contracted out.
Well, that is what the community power plan would have to specify. That would all be part of the plan.
Okay. All right. So that's what we'd be proposing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I like that the final bullet there says develop a reserve fund. I like that. I'm big on that. Okay. So let's move over to the second section here where it says the mission of the committee, and then the pursuit with the bulleted list after that. Any comments on that, Half?
I don't see anywhere that we're talking about cost to the residents of the town, unless I'm missing it.
Well, again, that would all be part of the plan.
But don't we want to put that up front? I mean, from everything we've talked about, it's either, the cost to the residents is either the same or a little bit less. And
well, the first bullet.
Isn't that the first bullet?
The very first bullet on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, there it is. Provide electricity at that first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And it says may be able to.
Right. Right. And then the second to last bullet says provide public hearings due to drafting. So that gives, the public a good idea of how we're going. What it doesn't say in here is how many people will be on the committee. Am I not seeing that?
No, and I think that's to be determined.
By us or by the select board?
I'd be happy to have the select board do that. I would like to see, I would think that Cliff or I or somebody from the Energy Committee should certainly be on this committee, but I think it's a committee that stands separate from the Energy Committee or the Sustainability Committee. It's really a committee that is being put into place by the select board for the purpose of investigating community power.
Well, I would do some overlap, but I think.
Well, that's the point I was trying to get at. When you have multiple committees and they all have some relation, that there needs to be a structure with someone from town who sort of has some oversight and is making sure all that connective tissue's working. And the only proposal I've seen is the one that we proposed a year and a half ago as the sustainability officer doing that. It's just that, we proposed that as a separate part-time thing, not for someone who already has a full-time job. So I just don't know. But it seems at some point there has to be an effort to, even if it's temporary for 6 months or a year, to keep everyone coordinated. And I don't know if that just falls on Dave.
Well, I assume this committee would make sort of regular reports to the select board and perhaps to the sustainability committee as to the progress that it was making.
At one point I was thinking, that there should be fairly substantial overlap between it's almost like this is a special purpose,
like a subcommittee in a way.
Subcommittee of the of the Energy Committee, because they're pursuing something that the Energy Committee has identified as a priority. It isn't technically a subcommittee of any. It's its own standalone thing, but I do think there really needs to be close coordination between these two.
Could it be set up as a subcommittee of energy where a sustainability person's invited, and then you don't even have to make it a formal separate committee?
No, we do. We do.
We do have to by law, I think.
Okay.
I think the selectmen could say the Energy Committee is the Energy Aggregation Committee if they wanted to. They could charge the Energy Committee with that role, but that's not the sense. I don't have the sense that we wanted to do that.
If they do that, then you could delegate it to a subcommittee that includes a sustainability rep or anyone who volunteers, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other communities that are doing this, the Community Power Aggregation Committee is a separate committee. It's an ad hoc committee for the purpose of investigating community power.
And I think, Lou, you made the point a while ago that one reason to make sure it isn't the same is that we needed to introduce people that aren't as partial to some of this stuff.
Exactly.
We are. We need to have credibility in the result as the selectmen would perceive it, that this is an independent look at whether this is a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point.
So what do you think our next steps should be as far as approaching the select board? Do you think it's worth it for either Lou or Cliff to speak with maybe the town manager and get a sense of how to propose this?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. If we're comfortable with the statement, we can just pass it on to Russ or and see what he thinks, and then go from there.
Okay, so to get this moving, I'm not saying that it needs to be done right away, but by the time we come back to our next meeting next month, perhaps we can have an update that this draft is in the town manager's hands and they're working on it. I know we're coming right up to a balloting time and it's very busy, and there's not a tremendous rush on this item at the moment because of the PUC still tweaking their laws and new legislation that's been introduced and things like that. But I think to slowly get it up and running would be advantageous.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I did pass it by Henry Herndon of, it used to be of Community Power New Hampshire, and he has seen a lot of these statements and he was happy with this one, so.
Okay, and then
he He also sent out today a little heads up from Cliff Below.
Right.
That there's some storm clouds
right.
On the horizon with a House Bill 315, which has been introduced that would effectively, I don't know if gut is the full word, but it would substantially harm, I guess, the effectiveness of community power efforts going forward. And so one of the things we might want to think about, I mean, I don't think this is going to happen imminently, but it may, is that
it sounds like it will.
It might. So the town needs to, or should, I hope, would weigh in, or at least the Energy Committee weigh in and with testimony to that bill, register our opposition.
Cliff, on what grounds are they disputing this or trying to tear it apart?
They're just introducing all sorts of changes that would make it harder to for it to be ethical. I mean, that it would make it work. The efficacy of it.
Amy, I can forward to you his comments, because he has the bill and he shows the changes that are being made. And as Cliff says, they would make an impact on whether or not community power is viable.
Can you forward that to me too?
Sure. We'll give it to everybody on the committee.
To the whole committee,
Yeah.
So any of those things like that, if they come up in the State House, I mean, any of us as individual citizens can go there and testify and say, hey, we're trying to do this thing for our town and we'd like you to pass that. I mean, you could even just sign in up there for anyone who hasn't gone up. You don't have to say something, but you can kind of sign in and register your opinion that way too.
Yeah, well, and it may be advisable for Cliff, you and me, to put together another letter to send to the PUC and on behalf of the Exeter Energy Committee.
or maybe not the PUC, but I think it's the House.
I'm sorry, to the legislature. Yeah.
Yeah, the people that introduced the bill, Voss and Callie Pitts or something like that.
Well, there were 4 of them, and those are 2.
And Callie Pitts was the Democrat, and Cliff Bielo said he was surprised and is going to talk to her because it doesn't seem like it would be something she would have wanted to do.
So in the meantime, we can approach and try to get our committee formed, so that way when you are sending letters on behalf of community power, you can say Exeter has our official sanctioned committee formed and we're looking into it, and we, Yeah,
that would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
May I?
Sure.
Yeah, to that end about forming the committee, I'd be happy to act as the liaison. Whoever's going to do that, what I would say and recommend is put together like a 1-page memorandum explaining, what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're asking for it, and then kind of maybe provide some details like what is the motion you're looking for. So a memo will accompany this statement, and the select board will know by reading the memo exactly what you're asking them to do, right down to how many. I don't know if it says in the, Cliff, is it does it say how many members it is? Does it have any requirements for the membership? Or if it does, list that in there. So I guess what I'm saying is whoever's going to take that on, I'm happy to work with them directly to do that, to put a package together. That's what I do constantly when I, forward something to Russ, and I'll take it and work with you on it, and we can get it to Russ together.
I'm not quite sure I follow you, Dave. You're suggesting that we take that mission statement and add a further statement to it before we send it to Russ?
Yeah, just a cover memo.
Okay.
A cover memo of this, this is what, and just briefly explaining, why you're asking them to do this and what you're specifically asking them to do, like like a motion. I just try to make it as easy as possible for the decision makers to have right in front of them. They know what you're asking, why you're asking, and what action you're asking.
Basically asking them to approve the formation of a...
Right. And also reminding them that this is the next step of when we went to talk to them about community power aggregation. This was the next step.
Yeah, the important things that might not be, stated in the mission. I know you can get a lot from the mission statement, but a little executive summary and a memorandum would be beneficial. And please, whoever's working on it, work with me, and I'd be happy to, work with you on that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So shall we move on to our next item? We're getting up on the hour. Okay. So I scratched the
latest.
Okay. So we're going to skip over the efficiencies because Julie didn't make it in, and we're going to talk just quickly to finalize the meeting about our heat pumps webinars on Zoom that Amy and I just did, the first one. And Amy is off my screen. I don't know why. Maybe Lou, can you take your screen share off, or maybe can Bob take his screen share off or something?
Yeah.
Amy
Screen share. There you go. You good?
Now she's on my screen. Okay. All right. So Amy, do you want to talk about the heat pumps webinar we just did?
Sure. We had a grand total of 1 attendee. So it was good to give some one-on-one attention. It was basically a conversation with this gentleman, Christoph, about heat pumps, and he had a lot of good questions. He seemed pretty engaged. I followed up with some more information, some spec sheets for him, and sort of explained that there's a discount for heat pumps. He was actually from Sandown. Is that right, Renee?
I think it was Sandown, yeah.
Yeah, heard about it through the Carriagetown News. So we've got more interest in the next one, but it was just something.
I'm going to do a little screen share here and show you what we have for this. This is going out now on Facebook. To tell you the truth, we were a little off because Bob Glowacki does so much for us that he was on vacation and I don't know. So anyway, we're back in business here. We have 2 more heat pump webinars coming up. I already have 6 registrations for those. So, and it's still pretty far out. And we do some, send it to the newspapers again. And I think the public will be interested. All right. So does anybody have anything else?
I was just going to say on Zoom, there's 5 people registered for the next one already. So that's good.
All right, yeah. And Bob, we're like kind of a mess without you in town. I'm just saying.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Okay, so unless there's anything else, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, and then we got Amy.
Can you stay a few minutes after so I can hear from you what I missed?
Sure. And you just need to vote.
I
Close aye. Okay, and Cliff.
Aye.
Lou.
Aye.
Robin.
Aye.
Dave, you want to chime in? Okay, then that's it.
Cliff, before
I don't have a vote. Yeah.
Yes, Lou.
Maybe you and I should just have a quick phone conversation to talk about what we want to say, send it to Dave.
Okay, can we do that tomorrow evening?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, and there's Camille. She hung into the whole thing.
I just wanted to thank you all for having me today.
Hey,
Oh, you're welcome.